Okay, thank you everyone for spending a whole morning with us. And my name is Hongfei. I'm honored to be invited to this webinar to share some of my thoughts about cryptocurrency. The original topic is why Asia will be the hub for cryptocurrency trading, for cryptocurrency platform. But I decided to change the topic because in my opinion, cryptocurrency is just a borderless, a global phenomenon, and it will not be limited to one country or one region. So I decided to more broadly talk about my understanding about cryptocurrency and how it will evolve with time and what we can do. So before I started, I'd like to briefly introduce myself. Some of you guys may know me, but not everyone. I was, like Harry said, I was very involved in the crypto industry very early, back to 2011, in which year I discovered Bitcoin and immediately fascinated by the idea. I bought my personal first Bitcoin in 2012 at the price of around $10, which is really, really cheap. I wish I bought more. And then I started or created the first public blockchain in China, or originated from China in 2014, which is only 3 months or maybe 3 months to 6 months later than Ethereum, the first smart contract blockchain. And after that, after the first public blockchain called Neo, I was also involved in many crypto blockchain projects, including Ontology, a blockchain for digital identity and data sharing. And I was also the founder and CEO of a enterprise blockchain solution company called Onchain, based in Shanghai, and co-invested by Fosun Group and Sequoia, and which is also you can say, a sister company or parent company of Onchain Custodian. And these two companies are working closely. Onchain Shanghai is providing part of the technology solution to Onchain Custodian. So basically, that's my experience within the crypto and blockchain industry. And my today's sharing will be divided into 3 sections. The first one will be about Bitcoin, and then the second about Ethereum, and the third, I will talk a little bit about Web 3.0 and Metaverse, the future, and then I will close my speech with what can we do today. So let's start my first slides. The next page, please. Yeah, the first topic will be Bitcoin. Bitcoin was started in 2009, and it's the first of its kind. It's very different from the electronic money, from the digital money that prior to the invention of Bitcoin. It was the first system that is not run by a centralized entity or a centralized server. It is decentralized. It is distributed, and you don't need a company, a special server to run the Bitcoin node. So it's essentially a new creature in the world. And next page, please. So the first time when people heard about Bitcoin, the question they will ask is, what is Bitcoin? Is it a electronic money? Is it a payment network? Is it like digital gold? Actually, in the past, the narrative of what is Bitcoin be used for had changed for several times. during the very early days, between 2009, the invention of Bitcoin, to 2011, the first time that Bitcoin was discussed in mass media, the narrative around Bitcoin is very cypherpunk centric. It is described by those cypherpunks as a tool to escape the regulation, the invention of government, of law enforcement. It's a kind of it's a censorship-resistant electronic money. And the characteristic of such as anonymous, tamper-resistant, transparency, censorship resistance are the core features that was emphasized during that time. And during that time, the market cap of Bitcoin is relatively small. It's just around the highest market cap is around 6 million US dollars. That's also why I bought it very, very cheap. And after 2011, the narrative around Bitcoin just changed. People started to talk about Bitcoin as a decentralized global payment system. And some of the bankers, some of the practitioners in the financial institutions, they realized that people spend billions of dollars to set up banks, to set up consortiums like Swift to do value transfer globally. But with the technology of Bitcoin, with the blockchain technology behind it, people can do value transfer almost free and almost instantly. In 10 minutes or 60 minutes, people can send any value from one address to another address globally without any intermediary. So people started to realize that Bitcoin has the potential to become a value transfer vehicle in the future. So the narrative started to talk more about using Bitcoin to do payment, to do cross-border remittance. So during that time, the market cap of Bitcoin also grew dramatically. It grew from 6 million to $16 billion. And the target audience are mostly individual investors. And then around 2017, 2018, people started to realize that the technology behind Bitcoin is not evolving very quickly, because to run Bitcoin network, you need to do a proof of work or mining or hashing, you need to have hashing power from specialized computer devices. So the speed of transfer of payment is still relatively slow comparing to the new breed of blockchains like Ethereum, like other blockchains. So people gradually realize Bitcoin is more like gold. It's safe. And actually, there are many people saying that Bitcoin is better than gold. It's more golden than gold, because the scarcity of Bitcoin is protected by mass. Imagine if the price of gold rise like 10 times, then people have the incentive to mine those depleted gold mines, and there will be more gold produced in the world. But the total newly mined number of Bitcoin is simply limited by mass. And even if the price of Bitcoin raised, it will still be the same amount of Bitcoin generated every 10 minutes. So that's the current phase. But what's next? Next page, please. Oh, I think this is the current status of the whole cryptocurrency market. The global crypto market cap, including Bitcoin, Ethereum, and many other alternative coins, is around 1.7 trillion, and it's only 14% of the market cap of gold. So even if Bitcoin is just a better gold, a digital gold, the whole crypto market has a lot of room to grow. Next page. So what will be the next phase for Bitcoin, for the crypto market? And recently, I've heard many people are regarding Bitcoin not just as gold, but as the ultimate store of value. So I predict the next narrative for Bitcoin will be the ultimate store of value that will be invested by not just retail investors, not just institutional investors, but also central banks. Because Bitcoin use the mechanism called proof of work. Whenever you have the mining power, you have the computing power, you have a say, you have a vote in the bookkeeping process. So it is very distributed. It's not controlled by one country, especially after the crackdown of many mining pools, mining factories in China. A single jurisdiction does not have intervention power over Bitcoin anymore. So the biggest store of value is not money, is not even gold. It's real estate. The size, the market cap of residential real estate is around 220 trillion US dollars, not to mention other type of real estates. So the roof for the growth of Bitcoin, for the growth of crypto currencies are just unlimited, and it's not it's not a simple hope. It is because indeed Bitcoin is a better store of value. It's global. You are not bonded to the physical land. You are not limited, or you are not regulated by just one jurisdiction. You have the ability to freely move your crypto asset between different jurisdictions as long as it's compliant. Next page, please. Okay, so that's the first part about Bitcoin, and the second section will be about Ethereum or ETH. My metaphor for Ethereum is it's the engine, it's the operating system for a programmable economy. Like Bitcoin is the digital gold, is the store of value. The technology behind Bitcoin is relatively simpler. Every miner's just competing for the bookkeeping opportunities to record, to bookkeep the transactions happened within the Bitcoin network. While in Ethereum, every miner or the bookkeeper competing to record the transactions, the state change happened within those smart contracts that's running on top of Ethereum. And those smart contracts are like self-enforcing contracts or self-enforcing programs. So everyone, but is not managed or operated by a single actor. It is managed, it is calculated by every node in the Ethereum network. So you will always know the outcome is correct, and no single actor can intervene the predefined, the open source, the transparent business logic behind those programs. So Ethereum is basically like the iOS system, and those smart contracts are like the apps on the iOS or in the iOS system. But there is no Apple company behind it. There's no one single entity behind it. Everyone has a say over the network of the program. Next page. And because Ethereum has many functionalities, it's not just bookkeeping, value transfer transactions. It's the operating system. People can build applications on top of it. So gradually, Ethereum became the most busy network in the crypto space. With those diagrams, you can discover that Ethereum is more used than Bitcoin itself. And especially with the invention of DeFi, or decentralized finance, people started to earn money. People started to make money by building Ethereum applications, by using Ethereum applications. So more and more new users started to step into this crypto space. Their first gateway became the Ethereum. Next page. And this is what kind of smart contracts are running on top of Ethereum. There are many different types. The most popular ones will be first crypto fiat, which is a crypto token that is pegged to fiat currencies, let's say US dollars. There are many there are different ways to do that, but the outcome is finally people have a token that is relatively stable. So this kind of tokens are called a crypto fiat or stable coins. Like the biggest one is called the USDT or Tether. So you have the ability to convert freely between Ether, ETH, to USDT, which is pegged to USD, and also or buy Ether with those stable coins. And then there are many protocols utilizing those stable coins, those ETH tokens. They can be a DeFi project. It can be a Oracle project to provide a price feed for those DeFis. It can be a fund protocol. It can be a tokenization protocol. There are many different applications. These are on-chain applications, and there are also off-chain applications, off-chain tool chains to facilitate those transactions activities on the Ethereum smart contract platform. Okay, next page, please. DeFi is particularly very interesting, and I personally are involved with a couple of DeFi projects like Flamingo, like Wing. And I believe that DeFi, decentralized finance, is like a Bitcoin to traditional payment system, or Bitcoin to gold. DeFi is just a new paradigm of finance. People started to reinvent, to rethink how finance should work using decentralized network like Ethereum. And as of today, there are lending protocols in DeFi, which are banks in real life. There are so-called swap applications in the DeFi thing, which is equivalent to the exchange in real life. And there are many derivatives product and other innovative products in the DeFi world that it's really hard to find its equivalence in the traditional finance industry. Next page. Indeed, one of the reason why DeFi attracted a lot of people is because of its yielding. The yield is really high. In traditional or in mainstream financial institutions, the risk-free saving interest rate is sometimes even negative. It's maybe between 0 to 2% annualized. And if you do a investment with some certain level of risk, then your return will be maybe 5%, 10%, and sometimes 15%. But in the crypto world, if you convert your fiat money, your USD, to USDT, you can deposit into smart contracts like Compound or Aave, and you will earn an almost risk-free saving interest rate around 10%, sometimes 15%, even 20%. And it's almost risk-free. It's not fixed term. You can withdraw your money at any given time. And then if you are willing to take some risk, you can do the automated market making by providing liquidity, by depositing a pair of tokens. Then you probably can earn 15 to 30% of annualized percentage of yielding. And then if you're willing to take the risk of exposure to the price fluctuation of some small cap, newer crypto, the APY is even higher. It can be 30% to 100%, sometimes even higher than 100%. But I have to warn you, it's extremely risky because you are exposed to those very smaller cap cryptos. So if you hold the fiat money, like let's say USD, and you are familiar and you're confident with your IT skills, with your understanding of crypto, of DeFi, I think the rational move is to convert part of your fiat into like stable coins like USDT or USDC and try do some so-called yield farming in those DeFis. And also with Onchain Custodian, they are also providing a easier way for newcomers to test the water of DeFi yield farming. Next page, please. And here is an example why decentralized finance is growing rapidly, and how and why do I believe it will overtake traditional finance or centralized finance eventually. The left side is the logo is a unicorn. The project is called Uniswap. It's a decentralized exchange, so you can you can convert one of your token to another token without any intermediary with Uniswap. The current market cap for the project, for the Uniswap project, is around $16 billion US, which is almost 60% of NASDAQ, the whole exchange, not just in US, also in Europe, which has a market cap of 27 billion. But what's more interesting is the people behind the Uniswap. It's only about 20 employees. There's only about 20 employees, which is 0.1% of the employees number of NASDAQ, which is 5,000. So you can see that the productivity of the people behind the Uniswap is around 150% higher than the people behind the NASDAQ. So this is why I believe DeFi will overtake CeFi eventually. Next page. Okay, that's the second part about Ethereum and ETH. And then the third part I will briefly mention is the so-called Web 3.0 and Megaverse. Web 3.0 is the next generation of our internet. Web 1.0 is the good example of Web 1.0 is Yahoo. A portal of news, of information. So the operator of those websites push those information to the users. And Web 2.0 is social media, is user-generated content like Twitter, like Facebook. There are interactions between users, between those content creators. And but there are many problems with Web 2.0. The users are the actual creator of those contents, but the users do not own this content. They do not own the platform. They have limited influence over those platforms. The platform are different data silos. So there are many existing problems with Web 2.0. But with Web 3.0, the users will have the ability to own the protocol, to own the platform, to govern the platform. And blockchain will be the enabling underlying technology or network behind it. There are many components for the Web 3.0, like interoperability protocols. One example is a Poly network. It bridges Ethereum, Binance Smart Chain, and many other popular blockchains. And also governance models. There is a word terminology in the crypto space called DAO, DAO. DAO is very similar to another three-letter word, LTD, but in a different form. DAO is not enforced by the company law. Instead, it is enforced by the logic, by the code that's behind a smart contract or a self-enforcing program. And people use that logic to govern their application, to govern their so-called business. And it's a new form of cooperation that will be, I believe it will be very popular in the future. And then there are many different digital assets, definitely an essential part of Web 3.0. People do not people do not necessarily pay each other with fiat. They can pay with crypto assets like DM, invented by Facebook. And when we have more connections, not just between people, but between computer to computer, device to device, then they need to have a native money or native value unit to pay each other. And Bitcoin could be one of it, Ethereum can be one of it, and there are many other projects that are aiming at that space. And then we have NFTs, non-fungible tokens, which can represent real life physical art, collectibles, or native digital crypto art, or props in the games or other collectibles. So NFT is really hot in the past few months. And then we have IPFS, which is for the distributed storage. We have DID, distributed or decentralized identity system. And all of this are the essential elements, components for the Web 3.0. and every component will be backed by an economic system, and there will be a token behind it. And it's a good investment opportunity if you understand the technology, the business model behind it. Next page. And with the invention of Web 3.0, with the invention of VR, AR, and immersive experience, better immersive experience, we will gradually see the boom of Metaverse. Especially with AI, I believe we need less and less people to do the physical, real world producing work in the real world. I imagine in, let's say, maybe 2 decades, 3 decades, only a small fraction of the whole population, maybe less than 20%, need to do those real work in the physical world. But many of the people they may lose their job, or they may lose their job in today's sense, but they will live in the metaverse, in the virtual world, where people play so-called game together. And the purpose of those games is actually a way to service each other, to amuse each other, to redistribute those productions provided or produced by the 20% population, and everybody has a meaning of life, of being. So I believe in several decades, Metaverse will become as big as today's physical world. The economic transactions in Metaverse may be higher even than the physical world. Okay, next page. Okay, so this is the last slides. I'm gonna share some thoughts with you guys. So what can we do? I've discussed Bitcoin, Ethereum, and the future, Web 3.0, Metaverse, and what can we do today? I think the best way to participate is first to buy and hold. I'm not giving a particular investment advice, but according to statistics, if you've bought Bitcoin in the past, you have a bigger chance. You've already made money and made a lot of money. And as I discussed before, there is still a lot of room for Bitcoin, for other cryptos to grow. So I think it's a good idea to convert part of your wealth into cryptos. So the first thing we can do is buy and hold. And second is to earn a higher yield than real life or than the mainstream financial system. You can convert part of your fiat money into stable coins, and you can put it into some saving, lending, or yield generating DeFi projects and earn a higher APY than what you can get in financial systems. But before doing that, you have to thoroughly study how DeFi runs and what's the risk behind it, because there are many like cyber attack risks. There are other risks. And then if you have the entrepreneurship and you want to be part of the revolution, and I welcome you to join the crypto world and start your business or do whatever you can do in this brave new world. Thank you. That's all I want to share with you guys.
Thank you for the comments. I really enjoy your perspective. You've been in it much longer than me and most, for sure. I started mining in 2016 before the last cycle, and then caught the rocket ship up and caught it down and back, and it's evolved significantly, as you've pointed out. And I love the phases on Bitcoin you highlighted. Um, I'm curious your take on the proof of work versus proof of stake conversation. You talked about Ethereum. You did not mention this shift that Vitalik's leading. What is your opinion of that? Is one better than the other? Is there place for both? And how do you think it'll all play out?
I think there are completely different systems or mechanisms. The biggest advantage of proof of work is it's more permissionless. So you don't need to, it's more dynamic. So you can, as long as you have resources, you have electricity, you can produce or you can buy chips, then you can do mining without interaction with any pre-existed token holders. But with proof of stake, you have to buy it from their previous owner of those stakes. Yeah. It's a barrier. If they do not want to sell it, they can maintain their percentage or ratio of the whole wealth. If they have 30% at the very beginning, it has a higher possibility that they will gain more than 30% over time, because there will be other smaller stakeholders who want to sell it, or they are not as efficient as those big stakeholders. But the advantage of proof of stake is also very clear. It's energy efficient. You don't need to do, it's environmental friendly. So there are pros and cons. I imagine proof of work and proof of stake will coexist for a very long period of time.
Yeah, no, that's my sense too. And I see the political debate in the community, and I don't know which way it'll end up. But on the energy usage, which is that's a hot topic right now, and Elon, kind of pulled back, but also said, "Hey, willing to look at things that use less than 1% of Bitcoin mining or proof of work mining usage." Mm-hmm. Check out Cardano. That's what it presumed, right? And other proof of stake coins. But in looking at the energy footprint of mining and DeFi and CeFi, I don't hear anybody talking about the carbon footprint of traditional banking systems and whatnot. Do you have any thoughts on how to balance that out on what? Because you said DeFi was more efficient on staff earlier, right? But on the carbon footprint side, and Elon kind of alluding to that too. What's your impressions there?
I believe although the mining of Bitcoin consumes a lot of electricity, but it's way more efficient than traditional financial system. I don't have exact number, but the gut feeling is maybe 10%, 20% of our GDP, all the value we produced annually are spent on the financial to run the global financial system and part of the legal system to enforce it. So at least a 10 to 20%. But if we switch to a decentralized distributed network, even if it is purely guarded by proof of work, I still believe it's dimensionally has dimensionally smaller footprint than the traditional system.
Okay. All right. Thank you. And as I have about two more questions I'll ask. I know we're coming up towards the end of the overall window for this conference, but if anyone else has any questions they want to put in the chat, I'm happy to put those forward. But switching more to the centralization conversation, what about in China, the crackdown on mining, and you find out there are these huge mining pools? Part of me worries about, well, is there a big 51% attack mining pool that we don't know of? I'm curious your take on that. And then separately, just kind of what your take is on China's recent activity in response to this crackdown on mining.
Okay, so first, I don't buy in the theory that there is a secret 51% attack. It's not economical. The people do not do it out of ration thoughts. Because if you have the mining power more than 51%, you invested a lot in buying those chips, in deploying it, in integrating it with the electricity network. You just don't have economical motivation to do that. The only entities has the motivation to do it can be a government or maybe a terrorist, but I don't think that's realistic at this point. So second, my answer regarding my thoughts regarding the crackdown of mining facilities in China. The answer is the reason is twofolded. The first reason is Bitcoin is a extraterritorial asset. It's not onshore, definitely, and it's not also not offshore in a strict sense, because it's not in some island and it's not in your mainland jurisdiction. So I say it's a extraterritorial asset. And there are foreign capital control in China. So mining Bitcoin is essentially converting the onshore resources of China, the electricity, into something extraterritorial. So this conflicts with all the legal framework, the compliance in the Chinese law framework. And that's the first reason. And it also fuels the speculation of the Bitcoin price. And the second reason is China the Chinese government just promised to reach the peak of carbon emission in 2030, and to achieve carbon neutral in 2060. So anything that is energy intensive is under scrutiny these days in China. And mining is conflicting with those regulations, policies, and it consumes a lot of electricity. There's no reason for Chinese government to welcome mining activities in China.
Okay. All right. No, that makes sense. And comparing it to the 5-year plans for sure. Okay. Yeah. I'm going to invite Alex in. I have one question, then I want to pass it to him to also share something and then also help close up. But what about the conversation about all these government coins, right? Like centrally controlled Fed coins or China coins or USSR coins. I mean, my take is it's not inherently a blockchain. It may have blockchain, transactions, but if it's centrally controlled, it's not ideologically a blockchain, which is kind of, so I can see why central banks may want to try this. But what's your take on that, and where is that going to go as we think about government coins like that, or central bank coins?
In China, it's called a DCEP, digital currency / electronic payment network. And the design goal of DCEP or ECNY is not to compete with cryptocurrencies. It's rather to provide an infrastructure of digital payment, because digital payment is I haven't touched a hard code cash in like 2 years. So it's just like 100% digital payment in China these days. But it is processed by some commercial companies, private companies like Alibaba or WeChat.
Yes.
So it's not, but the Chinese government believe it should be a social infrastructure. So I believe the motivation behind the ECNY is to set up such a social infrastructure, so the daily payment is not processed 100% by those private companies.
Yeah.
Yeah. And also, I think one of the side effects is to have a relatively more transparent, relatively more interoperable system for the outside world, outside of China, to interact with those digital currencies, and it will help Chinese yuan to become more international.
Okay, so then that's interesting. So it's a longer game then for linking up to existing blockchains and cryptocurrencies. And that's me translating what you said. Is that kind of where you're seeing it? I mean, looking 10 years down the road?
I think at this moment, the architecture of ECNY in China is not based on the blockchain technology. It has some cryptography elements in it, but it's not a full-fledged blockchain. But I think it will eventually adopt, let's say, other technologies like smart contract, like privacy preserving schemes into those systems, and eventually it will merge. It will interact with other public blockchains. So,
All right. Well, thank you so much for your insight and wisdom. It's really a pleasure to be able to ask questions and interact with you. And I want to thank the whole on-chain team here. Do you have any closing comments before I pass it over to Alex and Leo here?
I think we're experiencing a very exciting moment in the human history, and we may witness the biggest wealth migration from the physical world to the digital realm. So let's participate in this movement.
I agree. All right. Well, thank you very much, Shishini. It's a pleasure. Leo, I see you're on.
Yes.
And Alex is there too.
Yeah, we're all here.
Good.
So I think that was a very fruitful discussion. Yeah. Thanks everyone for participating. Also the panelists that are no longer are on now, but we will also be forwarding videos of the sessions to those people that couldn't actually make it because of time differences or whatever. But thank you all for participating.